Hi, and welcome to my first tutorial for Imaging 1 Fundamentals. The idea behind this tutorial is to give you a brief overview of some of the things you should consider whether you're on a Mac or a PC as far as getting set up for doing image editing, taking in your images from your camera, a first setup that you'll need to do prior to importing your images through Lightroom. I don't use a PC, so I can only show you this on a Mac. For those of you who are using Windows, I would suggest that you try to find a way to, within the operating system, to do similar things to what I'm doing here. For those of you who are using Macs, just kind of a brief overview of some of the functions, some of the features, and some of the ways in which I kind of set things up that I have found helpful over the years as far as my workflow is concerned. When we talk about workflow, we're really talking about the way in which we process images, all the way from what we call ingestion, which is bringing the images in from our cameras or cards, storing them in a safe place on a hard drive, working with them with image and editing software such as Lightroom or Photoshop, and then output all the way out to whether we're going to go to the web, whether we're going to go to print, or whatever. That entire process is what we refer to as our workflow. And it will vary individual to individual. There's not really a right way to do things. It's just kind of the best way for you, and that's something that you're going to discover as you work through the process of learning how to do this stuff. In any event, the first thing I want to point out to you is that I have a gray background. This is my desktop, and I basically get rid of clutter. And also, I like to use a gray background so that I'm not going to be influenced by any color when I'm doing any image editing. On the Mac, the way to change this to a solid color is to go up here to the Apple menu, right up here in the top left-hand corner. And by clicking on the Apple menu and moving down to System Preferences, I'll open that box up. You can see that we have a whole bunch of different preferences for different aspects of the operating system, and Windows users, you will have a similar kind of control panel that will, change the behavior of your keyboard, your mouse, your displays, different things like that. The one I'm interested in right now is desktop and screensaver. So I'm going to click on this icon up here. It's going to open it up, and you can see that the background color right now is set to a solid gray medium. Likely, perhaps you already have something set up which is a nice picture, any of these different options that you have here for your pictures, and by scrolling all the way down to the bottom, there's a ton of pictures here. You can see this is a very nice water scene. You come to the solid colors, and the one that I pick here is this solid gray medium, and that's what I like to use. And again, I choose this because it's not going to affect any of my colors when I'm color editing. So that's getting, the background set the way I want it. The next thing is down here at the bottom on the Mac, we have what's called the dock, and the dock represents various icons of different applications. The applications that are running are indicated by this little kind of light here underneath. I'm working with a program here called ScreenFlow, and this is the program that I'm using to capture and record what I'm doing right now, the video on the screen as well as the audio. So that's running right now, and that's why you're seeing this down here. These various folders contain icons for the various applications. This one here is every application which has been installed on my computer. Just a few. So I'll close that folder. These other folders here I have set up for specific applications. So you can see this one says Design Tools. Open this one up. I have Photoshop, a couple of versions of Photoshop. I've got Lightroom, Illustrator, Dreamweaver. These are obviously all the Adobe Suite ones. Here's Capture One. Here's Photomatics, and Creative Cloud is here as well. So you can see that some of these applications relate specifically to any kind of creative activity I'll do. The next one's General. I've got Word, I've got PowerPoint, Excel. Here's one for any of my web tools, Safari, Firefox, Chrome, multimedia, iTunes is here, Final Cut, DVD player, Audacity, which does audio editing, GarageBand. I don't do much music, but all of that kind of stuff. Network drives, I've got no network drives hooked up, and utilities, which shows me a bunch of utilities which are useful for the system. I kind of use this as kind of a place to put stuff. I don't really know where to put it. I will be doing a tutorial on disk utility, and again, for those of you who are using Windows, there will probably be an application within the Windows operating system that will do the same thing as this utility will do. This utility is used for formatting hard drives, and as I say, I'll do a tutorial on that as well. These other folders is a bunch of documents. This one has my Dropbox. Talk to you about Dropbox some other time, and then these are all different files that I've downloaded. Beside it, of course, is the trash can. You can see that there's stuff in the trash can, so I'm going to empty the trash can. There's several ways to do this, but I'm going to press the Control key. It's the outermost key on the bottom of the keyboard. Press and click my left mouse button, excuse me, and I can choose Empty Trash. That's one way of doing it. I've set up my mouse as well, though, that it responds to a right mouse click, which is the same as Windows. And if I right mouse click here, I can get Empty Trash. So I'll just click that. It'll give me a prompt. Are you sure? Say yep. And away it goes. So now I've got an empty trash. I don't typically like to have the dock visible at all times. So again, if I come up to the Apple icon up here, you'll notice that there's an item here called the dock. So I'll turn hiding on, which means that it will disappear unless I bring my cursor down, and then the dock pops up again. So I know it's always there, it's just out of the way and reducing the clutter. Okay, so the main thing we have to do right now in this tutorial is, as I said before, to set it up for receiving our images on our hard drive. So in order to do that, I'll just tell you that, but before I do that though, I want to point out these icons over here on the right hand side. These are all my hard drives that I have hooked up to the computer. There's one here that says external hard drive, and this is the one that I'm going to be setting up to receive the pictures. So I'm going to come down here to the dock, and I'm going to click on the Finder. It will open up this window. And by default it just says all my files, but you can see that there's a bunch of different choices that I have down here. These are the devices. These are the different hard drives that are hooked up. If I click on the external hard drive, you'll notice that there are two folders. Now, one thing let me say here about working with the way, or the interface right now. Again, one of the things I don't like is I don't like these big icons for folders. So I would prefer to have another view, and to change the view or the way that this information is displayed, we have these icons right up here at the top, and if I choose a list view, I can see the list here, and these little arrows twirl down, and so I can see what's going on inside those. I also have a column view, and I can see the data server here. Click on that, and then these basically open up going from left to right, so I can see the content of whatever's in the folders. This last one here allows me to do this in a very fancy kind of animated view. The only one I really work with is the column view, because I like to be able to see the pathway. So the pathway is always from left to right. So if I click on the data server backup, for example, and I click on my name, you can see that there's nested folders, so we can always begin to work through stuff like that. And I just like it because I can always kind of see where I've come from. It's just my preference. It's not to say it's the best way, it's just the way I'm used to. Okay, so the first thing I need to do here is I'm going to open up this window. You can see what's highlighted. That's what I'm actually working with. Just very quickly, if I were to go to another hard drive, for example, this is a portable hard drive, this one here, Teaching Master. Just takes a minute for it to update. The Teaching Master contains all of the files that I use. I take stuff back and forth between home and the office, and this is all relating to stuff that I teach. So if I click on Georgian, you can see I have my courses here, and here's your course right here. This is 13 fall. These are all the previous years I've taught the course. So I keep everything, and we're working through as far as setting this up. Here's the folder for last year. You can see all of the information that I have there. So I basically have a record of every single time I've taught this course. going back in time, and so all I do is I just simply add another folder and I start working at it. The reason I do that is because actually I'm changing the course. Courses change all the time, and I will change my material, and I like to have an archive of what I've done in the past so I can see where I've been, and then I can move forward. So let's just give you an idea as far as what I see and what I work with. Okay, so let's go back to the hard drive, the one that I want to add the new folder to. So just ignore the rest of these. I assume you don't have that many hard drives. You're going to have one external hard drive, and it will show up here. It may have some other folders on it, depending upon what's already on that hard drive, or you may have nothing. Maybe it's a brand new hard drive. Now, the most important thing here, and this is very, very, very important, when we start bringing our pictures into or storing them on a hard drive, it's very important that you don't just put them at what we call the root level. The root level is the top level of the hard drive. So when I click on this, and it's highlighted here, what is in this column is what's considered the root level of the hard drive. It's kind of like the empty room. And what I like to do, and actually it's not just what I like, it's actually a very important practice, is that it's like you've walked into a room and now you have to create a filing cabinet that's going to hold your pictures. You're not walking into the room and throwing all your pictures on the floor. You want a container that's going to contain those pictures. And the reason you want that is because at some point in time, this hard drive is going to either get too small, you're going to clutter it up, and you're going to want to move those pictures. Now, it's going to be a lot easier if you have all the pictures inside a filing cabinet or inside a folder or inside a box, if you were to pick up that box and then move it out of the room from one room to a bigger room. And that's really kind of the analogy here. So one of the things that's important, is actually critical for you, is to create a folder that will become your image library. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to highlight the hard drive. I'm going to come up here in the Finder to File, and I can choose New Folder. And over here there's Shift, Command, and N. Those are the shortcut keys. I can do it by just pressing those keys on the keyboard. So if I click New Folder, a new folder pops up. It's important again that you highlight where you want this to happen. Here's the untitled folder, and I'm going to change the name. So I'm going to, and I do this in capitals because it's an important folder. I think of it like as an important box. So I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to type Image Library. So that's where all my pictures are going to end up going. And you can see here's the image library, and I'm all set to go. Now, when we set up Lightroom for bringing in your pictures, everything is going to come inside this folder. So this area here, this will be where all your pictures will be. And then later on, if you ever need to move your library, you pick up this folder here and you move it to another hard drive. It's that easy. You'll have to kind of resynchronize Lightroom to kind of tell Lightroom where the new pictures are, but I'll get to that later when we want to move libraries around. But for the time being, that's really the most important thing you need to do right now. And if you have pictures that are kind of cluttered all over your hard drive or everywhere else, once you have created your image library, my suggestion to you would be to collect all your pictures and put them inside that folder. If they're in other folders, just drag the folders in there, and you'll end up cluttering this up a little bit, but again, you'll have all your pictures in one place, and you know where they are. You know they're not going to get lost. You're not going to go hunting around in other places of your computer, and it will simplify your life a lot. Trust me.